All right, friends, what's going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds. Nick and Craig here. Hope everyone's night's going great. I'm just gonna go ahead and close the chat right now. I have no interest in reading some of this stuff tonight. Love y'all, but I'm not in the mood at all.
Oh,
Lord have mercy. Just closing it.
I don't blame you, man.
Jesus.
For what it's worth, I just saw the end of Friedel's at bat.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be too desperate to.
You want to sync up tonight, like?
Yeah, man, we
Nick?
got to get synced. Let's get synced, baby.
We're starting to rally right now, Nick.
What's David Bell out here arguing about?
I don't think he's arguing. I think the umpire put Marte in the lineup here,
Oh,
and then
okay.
instead of Fairchild when it was supposed to be Fairchild. And... Welcome back, Stu. So not only did the Reds not look great tonight, Marlins with a walk-off winner over the Mets.
Yeah, that was not ideal.
No.
I will give the Mets some credit, though. That team really is playing hard.
Ooh.
I was focused way on that game late than this one. The Mets team's playing hard, so they got Senga on the mound tomorrow. Hopefully they can win that series.
Yeah, Farmer gets there. Okay.
All right.
Stu on base in his first at bat since coming off the IL.
Well, you know what they say. He's just a leader.
Positives.
Just a leader.
Still a leader. Hustling down the line in a 7-0 ball game.
I mean, they don't teach that, right?
Can't teach speed.
I got
surprised
some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm surprised that Fraley's even bothering to bat here.
Well, it makes me wonder. There's two things that I think might be going on here. Votto getting pulled early makes me think he's playing every game this entire week, and that's why they pulled him early.
For sure.
And Fraley playing this entire game makes me think they might give Fraley a couple days off. That's my trying to read between the lines.
Yeah, I mean, Votto can play every day this week, but a couple of those days should be DHing. So give Fraley a couple of days off.
You can get CES and Marte in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly. Which is on the list of things to talk about.
Yeah.
Something tells me the way the game went tonight, I'm not going to talk about all the things that I had on my list.
Craig, you can talk about whatever you want, brother.
But yeah, how they handle the next however many games here in Cincinnati may be a little telling about the future.
A little bit of a positive development. Giants have jumped off to a 2-0 lead. I mean, it's not necessarily super great because you'd still lose a game to the Giants, but
they're playing the D-backs, right?
At this point,
yeah, you have to root for the Giants.
Might just really get a crowded race here.
Yeah.
Oh, Trace, look who joined us.
Oh,
Trace
boy.
Fowler. Gracing our presence.
Trace left the game already, which means it's time for a rally.
Miracle.
He's doing his part, folks. You can't say he doesn't.
Part.
Can't say Trace Fowler doesn't do his part.
He's got terrible service, but he went to the game. He's on the show.
Look at Fairchild going first and third.
You're I guess, what have you talked about so far? What's your? I know you haven't gotten to the show yet, but they just kind of threw Lively to the wolves there, like they should have, right?
Yeah, that's. Well, once you got to that point in the game, you had to throw them to the wolves. I think the Reds kind of handed this game to the Twins. Honestly, we'll talk about it during the show. I don't want to give too much away, but I mean, once the game got to that point, I mean, yeah, you just let Lively eat up innings. I mean, you've got plenty of time off, and your bullpen can get plenty of rest. But there's zero reason to use anybody that you don't have to tonight. So let's see if Stevenson can give another ball a ride.
What about that?
I tell you what. I don't know. 4 straight starts for Stevenson. I mean, tomorrow's a day game. I don't know. We'll see. The fact that Luke Maley didn't come in at all after Stevenson has started 4 straight games might tell you a little bit about how Luke Maley is feeling right now with his hand.
I think that's the ball game.
GDP here.
Yep.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the wall, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first run ever. With 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Doesn't have a chance. The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramon Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
The audacity of the Cincinnati Reds to challenge this call.
Did they? I turned it off.
They're challenging the out at second, and I think they're gonna win the challenge. So it's gonna be 2 outs with Jake Fraley at second base, and Fairchild will score. So it will be 7-1. I don't know. It's close. Is this still
review?
on it? I don't know. It might stand.
Do we do another intro? I don't know. What do we do here? He's out. I'm ahead of you, I guess. He's out.
Okay.
I think the game's actually over now. All right.
Yep. Now we're good.
Let's do a show. Trace, you need to unmute yourself.
I was going to try to keep myself muted until I decided that I was going to say something just in case my audio is not perfect. But, yeah, I mean, let's do a show. I'm ready to do a show. I'm really not that down. I don't know. Should I be? I guess I don't know how you want to start the show, but I don't know. I feel all right.
Yeah, these are shows I kind of have a difficult time with because I mean the Reds are 6-3 in their last 9 games. They split 2 games with the Twins. Offense was great last night. Offense was terrible tonight. Hunter Green's on the mound tomorrow. You move on. That's pretty much kind of all I want to say and move on and not really talk about the game, to be honest. But we do a show, so we're going to try to talk about the game. Craig, what's your overall thoughts?
Oh, man. Well, I said it in the pre-show. I actually think that the Reds gave away a number of runs tonight, and this game should have been completely different. The offense struggled all night. That may or may not have been different depending on how this game went. I think ultimately David Bell managed differently because of some of the runs they gave away. I think the players probably played differently because of the way we gave away some runs. But here's what I got. In the second inning, you've got a steal by Kepler on a ball that was bounced by Tyler Stevenson, hit Ellie right in the web. Ellie can't hold on to it. He would have been out. Farmer has Jeffers down 0-2 and ends up walking him, ends up with a single by Wallner to score Kepler. Right there in the second inning, your win probability dips, and Minnesota has a 61% win probability right off the bat on a run that shouldn't have scored. Then in the fourth, you've got Stevenson's bloop to center field where Castro robs him of a hit. Could have been 2 runs. You've got runners on second and third. Props to Minnesota. You give them tip of the cap. Great catch by Castro. But those 2 plays right there could have been a completely different ball game. And then you've got the Minnesota 6th. Jeffers lines out to India to start the inning, but then Wallner hard line drive to center. Farmer weak bloop to right. And so you've got runners on first and second because India plays the ball extremely well in the outfield and keeps those runners there. But then you've got yet another pass ball by Tyler Stevenson that'll go down as a wild pitch that goes right between the wickets. Runners advance to second and third and ultimately score on a weak single to right field where they only advanced 1 base as it was. Then the infield has to play in, and because of another base hit that gets through in infield that was pulled in, the win probability goes up to 94%, when in reality the score would have been probably 1-0 or 2-1 if Ty Steve's ball would have dropped. And now you've got David Bell managing differently, and in what would have been a 2-1 ball game instead of what ultimately ended up being 7-0. I don't even know if Lively is still in there in the 7th inning to give up the home run to Castro if all of those things play out the way they could have. And then you've got Ty Steve robbed of a home run in the 7th inning that, again, could have been another 2 runs. And so tip of the cap to Minnesota for 2 outstanding defensive plays that really changed the outcome of the ball game, but also have to point out the fact that Tyler Stevenson had 2 pass balls or 2 plays that could have gone a different way. And then also because of the way the managing was done, you've got Kepler blue pit to left field that falls between Martini and Steer that absolutely would not have fallen had Steer still been in left field, which again goes to just the way we had to manage because that game was out of hand. So ultimately that very well could have been a 2-1, 2-3, 4-2 ball game, and the Reds could have won. But I tell you what, I'm frustrated. I thought that there were some plays defensively behind the dish that would have made a difference. Thought Ellie making that play on that stolen base could have made a difference right off the bat. Just all around rough night from the second inning on for the Reds. Just things didn't go their way.
Yeah, I mean, you eloquently stated a lot of the things that I thought and seen. There's just a couple things that I don't want to say I'm worried about, but I would say that it's certainly is going to be really hard to get where we ultimately want to get to without the help of Ellie De La Cruz. And he looks lost right now. I mean, there's really no other term to use outside of just the confidence is just not there. Ellie is a much better player than the way he's played the last month and a half. We all have seen it before. And you could argue that the consistency that is not going to be there as a rookie. But to go this long is more of just it's a mental hurdle right now. And sometimes the mental hurdles are harder to get over than the physical ones from time to time. And it kind of reminds me of what Tyler Stevenson went through for most of this year as well, right? Tyler Stevenson, for all intents and purposes, was not very good for quite some time, and he's bounced back. And we're just in a position now where, we need Elly De La Cruz. I hate to say that, and I know people might think that that they need to send him down, not send him down, but sit him down, and it's just not a reality. I mean, it's just not a reality. I mean, do I think you could sit him for a day or two? Yes, maybe. But for this team to actually do anything that's, I don't want to say worthwhile, because making the playoffs would be worthwhile, but hopefully people understand where I'm going with this. For this team to play at the highest level possible, they need Elly De La Cruz. And he's just he's a no-show right now. And I know he's 21. I know he's a rookie. This isn't an anti-Elly statement. I keep saying that to be clear, but we have to call a spade a spade. I do think that there was some at-bats tonight, guys, that were good at-bats. You just have to give Maeda some credit, because he placed some pitches when it mattered the most. Jonathan India had 3 really good at-bats. He had his leadoff at-bat, and he went full. His second at-bat, he went full again. And I don't know what the exit velo was on the second ball he hit, but he hit it okay. And then, I don't want to say the Twins caught a little bit of a break. I don't want to make it sound like they got lucky, guys. But, India smokes the ball to first base. It goes right at their guy. The very next inning or two, they hit no hard hit balls, and they're just falling in all over the place. And they rob a home run, which gives them credit. And you look up and you realize the score is completely different. And I'm starting to concern. I guess I don't want to be overly concerned. And I'll ask this to you and Nick, I guess, is this. Do you think the score was the reason in which David Bell managed differently, for sure? Or are we in a position where David Bell is changing his stripes a little bit when the pressure is mounting, or when it means the most? I guess I'll shut up and kind of listen, but that's we're trending on the line of managing differently right now. And I know Joey Votto's situation is that's a whole ball of wax, but I just don't know. It just feels like David Bell's letting guys, he's not platooning guys. Like, he's not pinch hitting early in games like he once did. And maybe that's just because of the score, or is that just because he just doesn't trust the guys off the bench, that even though they have better splits, he wants to see what these guys have, I guess, before he goes to them. I don't know.
I mean, on Lively, I mean, I would say, like, David Bell used 4 relievers before he went to Lively. I think that the decision for this game, going into this game, and I think I said it yesterday, I think it was you work this game backwards. You use the 4 relievers that you, however many relievers you want to use first. If you are in the game, you don't go to Lively. You just keep rolling out your best relievers. If not, you kind of go to Lively. I mean, when Lively came in this game, the Reds were down what, 3-0?
2-0.
2-0. Okay. I mean, but you'd already used 4 relievers. I mean, I don't know what's you're kind of in a spot here. Do you really want to, down 2-0, burn through your entire bullpen?
No. I wasn't even talking about the bullpen. I thought he managed that perfectly. You have to do what you have to do there. You have Hunter Green going tomorrow. You save all your best guys. You try to win the series. I think that was perfectly executed. I'm more so letting, like, and it worked out. I mean, people are gonna laugh at me, but it worked out again. But, like, you let Will Benson hit lefty on lefty. Yes, he gets a base hit, but these are things that he just hasn't done in the past. He just. Again, the other night, 2 nights ago, he let Joey Votto hit against the lefty 2 different times. I guess I'll live with it. I'm not suggesting it's a horrible situation going on right now, but I'm just wondering if you felt like, what was the purpose of letting Will Benson hit in that spot, lefty on lefty, when you have a guy like Stuart Fairchild, and people are going to make fun of me for saying it, but you were already pretty much down and out in the game. I'm not saying you could quit, but you have a chance to give Stuart Fairchild an at bat and at least get his feet wet again before you stick him in there, and maybe he has a bigger moment where he needs to have another at bat. That's more or less my question or pushback. And again, to be clear, Nick, and also Craig, I'm not overly concerned about it. I'm just bringing it up as, like, more of a topic of conversation, I guess.
I gotta find out when Will Benson hit. I don't know. Do we know what inning he's so Will
It was
Benson
the
hit?
6th inning.
Yeah, bottom of the 6th leading off. I mean, I think like Joey Votto yesterday was completely going against what he's done all year. There's no question about that. Will Benson, I mean, that's the bottom of the 6th. Will Benson's leading off. It's so hard to see the stinking score on this thing. I guess they were down 4-0 then. So I'm assuming the thought process there is we're down 4-0. We need a bunch of runs. The last thing I want to do is burn Will Benson for a pinch hitter when he's the leadoff guy in the inning, and then have Will Benson's spot come back up in the lineup in the 8th or 9th inning with the bases loaded, and I have a right-on-right matchup because I burned all my left-handed batters. I think that was more what that was about. I didn't really have an issue with that. If it was a tighter game, then yeah, I mean you maybe go for it there, but I think that was just more the situation dictated that one.
Well, whether it was the score or just the offensive struggles in general, there's no way you can tell me a David Bell, even a month ago, is letting Ben Lively continue to pitch in the 6th after the first 5 batters go hard line drive to India, single, 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 single. I mean, he struggled with his control all night. That's not debatable. So in a game that in this situation was 2-0, but easily could have been 1-0 or whatever. The offense is struggling. He probably doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in the offense at this point. Maeda is at that point had been pulled, but
I just don't think David Bell had confidence in the offense to be able to.
Yeah.
The probability of them coming back was not good enough for him to burn through what. The difference between what we have now and a month ago is as we all know, like vastly different. I mean, I can't blame David Bell for wanting to stay with these guys. It's legitimately going to be, and I said this like on yesterday's show, I really do think David Bell's going to have to punt on certain games because, as crazy as this sounds, you have to pick your spots, because if you don't, and Hunter Green, let's just say Hunter Green goes out there tomorrow and throws 5 innings, gives up 2 runs, or hell, let's say he gives up 3 runs and the score is 4-3 or 3-3. And now what do you have if you burn Jabot and you burn, whoever it may be, Sims or somebody else tonight? You just, it's almost like when David Bell decides to go all in on a game right now, we have to win. Now that sounds crazy to say, but it's almost like it's feast or famine. So we have to go all in and we have to win. You can't go halfway and lose both games right now, because ultimately it's, one game is going to probably be the difference here. I know that sounds not all that crazy anymore, but one game is probably going to be the difference between making it or not making it. And yeah,
I think it's tough. I agree with you that I think you can manage to win and you can manage to manage. You guys talked about it. I've talked about it with Nick. At the end of the day, I think realistically, when we were looking at the schedule for the rest of the season a couple weeks ago, we looked at the series and said, let's take 1 of 3. Realistically, it was the best team we were going to face the rest of the year. We wanted to take 1 of 3. Now you're in a position realistically where you picked up that win yesterday because of a great outing from Phillips. And you're in a position with Hunter Green scheduled to go tomorrow. You can now take 2 of 3 in a series that realistically you wanted to get 1 in. And so you're still on track to win that series. You're still on track to be where you want to be from a win-loss record for the rest of the year, just by taking the one game that you took yesterday with an opportunity to win tomorrow. So I'm okay with punting today. The frustrating part for me was that it felt like, regardless of what the plan was, the defense and Tyler Stevenson specifically behind the plate put him in a position where he had to manage that way. And so to talk about another topic, I mean, Tyler Stevenson now has started 4 games in a row. Luke Maile is seemingly out, had x-rays on his hand that came back negative, a left-hand contusion. Our understanding is that he can't bat. We've got a day game tomorrow, and we don't have another catcher on the roster. And my guess is that they're going to ask Ty Steve to go again tomorrow, and then hope that with the day off on Thursday, that Luke Maile can be back on Friday. But Ty Steve behind the plate, to me, defensively looked exhausted. The ball between the wickets early on, the ball that he didn't even try and block later on in the game that just hit off his shin guard and bounced away. They were, quite frankly, lazy plays. And I think it comes down to he started 4 games in a row on a team where he had been, guaranteed an off day every 4 days because Maley was catching Abbott, but Maley was catching a lot more than that. So now you're asking a guy to come in and catch 4 days in a row, which quite frankly, you don't even ask guys to do in Little League. So,
where are you seeing 4 days in a row? I'm seeing 6 days in a row.
6 days in a row.
I mean,
I thought they said on the broadcast that he had started 4 straight games.
One of those was so it was, he played September 14th, complete game, September 15th, complete game, September 16th, complete game, September 17th, complete game, September 18th, complete game, played the complete game tonight. And the game before the off day was a 10-inning game that he caught the complete game. So, yeah, I mean, that's no catcher does that. Like, outside maybe, I guess, Salvador Perez, but like
some guys do.
Like 2 catchers in baseball, not Tyler Stevenson.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, some guys. It's rare, but there's some. But your guys' point is valid. The only question I push back on is, like, what's the solution? I don't know if there is one. I guess is Kirk Casale, like, is he just gone? Is he like is he? And you just, with expanded rosters, it definitely seems wild to me for a podcast and for us as a show who've joked about having 3 catchers all year long, that with expanded rosters and one of our catchers hurt, we're in a position where we don't have 3 catchers. It makes sense, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, and I know I'm asking more of, like, someone that's naive. What is the solution? Is it you have to go and ask Casale if he's ready, or is it Chucky Robinson? Is that even a possibility? I don't know. Is there a solution?
First off, shout out Scott Shoemate for the super chat. Thanks for watching and super chatting, Scott. Yeah, well, it's just such a weird roster because you have Jake Fraley, who's a DH only, and then you have really 2 first basemen only. I know Christian Encarnacion Strand played at third base. I am completely against that. But it's a roster that you have a 28 players, but it's not as flexible as even some of the 26-man rosters that David Bell had earlier in the year. But yeah, I don't. Tyler Stevenson needs a day off. I don't think they're being fair to him, to be honest. Asking this much of him, 6 games in a row is just a lot. I don't know. Maybe there's something with Luke Maley. Maybe they're like, he just needs one more day. We can have him tomorrow. But I don't know. Even if it was like he can come back Friday, I kind of feel like that's too long. Like, I know Luke Maley's been valuable, but is he that valuable that we make Tyler Stevenson catch 7 games in a row so he can come back 4 or 5 days earlier off the IL? Because that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if he's already 6 days in, I mean, you could have. I mean,
it's only a 10-day IL,
right?
Yeah, you can retroactive it too. You can retroactive it. So, like, at some point, you just got to bring somebody up, man.
Yeah, I don't feel like it was at all fair to Stevenson. Maley did play on the 15th. So, you know what? Craig, you were right. I lied. I was looking at the game logs wrong. One of those games was a DH. So he did play. He's played every day, but one of those games was a DH. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still I think too much. Still too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, like, to Trace's point, I don't know the answer, but the answer can't be letting your catcher play 6 and be behind the plate 4 straight. I mean, there's very few organizations in the league that are going to do that to a guy. And I don't know the severity of Luke Maley's injury. All I know is that the X-rays came back negative, but I do know that the discomfort comes when he hits, right? So, I mean, no, I don't know. There's got to be a solution. And right now, I just, I feel for Tyler Stevenson because he's definitely struggling back there, but I assume that he's doing the best he can in a terrible situation.
Yeah. We have any other thoughts on the offense? I'd like to see Noelvi Marte get in the lineup.
Fraley's the biggest question mark there is. If you want to talk about a hot topic, I think that's the guy. That's it. And you know what? It sucks because he's probably the best hitter we have against right-handers. He's been the best right-handed hitter, the best hitter against right-handers all season long. It's a really tough tell. It's a really tough ask of David Bell because he's got to figure out how healthy is Jake Fraley. And Jake Fraley's a guy that's a warrior. He clearly, when you come back because you want to play through a broken toe, because you want to be a part of a playoff push and you love your teammates and all that, that is great. And we all love that. And by God, when he came back, he was basically carrying the team on that broken toe the first 2 games he came back. But the problem is, fellas, at some point, push comes to shove, there is zero excuse. I mean this. There is zero excuse that Noelvi Marte is not playing every day right now. He's the best hitter this team's had for the past month. He looks the part. He is the part. And until he proves otherwise, he should be in the lineup every single day. It's a disgrace that he's not in the lineup. I know when you do this, everybody wants to point and scream and yell. CES, also, I'd argue, one of the other hottest hitters on the team. Those 2 guys combined have, and it turns into, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we lost Trace, but I mean, I do echo the point.
I don't know what you're supposed to.
I think what Trace is saying is accurate. And to his final point there, I don't know the answer either. It's the same situation with Tyler Stevenson and Luke Maile. I don't know the answer, but you've got a situation where Noelvi Marte and Christian Encarnacion Strand are 2 of your hottest hitters on your team, point blank. And you're continuing to put in guys like Jake Fraley, who is not 100%, and Joey Votto, who's not 100%, in place of those guys, when in reality, you can easily get Marte and CES defensively on the field and platoon Votto and Fraley. But to the point earlier as well, that Trace said, is it feels like David Bell is managing this as if it is Joey Votto's last homestand. And he's going to play every game this week, regardless of what happens. And that just is going to leave one of the young guys out of the rotation because it doesn't feel like he's going to sit Fraley either. And so, you know, one of the questions that I certainly have is, where does Ellie fit into that platoon situation? Is there an opportunity for 1 game? Because I know I've heard from others that Marte is not a guy you want at shortstop, but are you telling me that for 1 game, Marte is going to be that much worse than what Ellie has shown recently, both offensively and defensively?
Trace, I'm going to mute you just because really a lot of feedback coming back at me, but I'll bring you back in here in a second. A couple points, you know, again, like I think we all love what Jake Fraley's done, and I get it. It's a really hard decision. He did have a single tonight, but the single was only 80 miles an hour off the bat. He's not looking like the Jake Fraley that we know, and there's nothing wrong with that because he's giving all he has. But I don't see how. First off, Joey Votto is not coming out of the lineup. It's over. There's no point even discussing this anymore. He's going to be in the lineup every day the rest of this homestand. It is what it is, and there's no point. You saw that interview last night, and after David Bell pulled him in the middle of the game today to give him rest today, he's playing every game the rest of this homestand. So there's that is what it is. So pretty much is Jake Fraley's bat in the lineup worth significantly weakening your defense by putting Christian Encarnacion Strand at third base? And I just don't think the answer is yes to that. And I know it didn't bite them today, but I think that will bite them. My other thing that I'm here is, like, Noelvi Marte's fine at shortstop for a game here and there, but if you're talking CES at third base, Marte at shortstop, and India at second base, it's a terrible defensive infield. Anyone who watched Marte and CES in the minor leagues, Marte is not a great defensive shortstop. CES is definitely not a great defensive third baseman. We already know we've exhausted Jonathan India. I don't think that trade-off is it all worth it. And I think Elly De La Cruz against right-handed pitching with all the things that he can do, I still think you ride that out. I'll die on that hill. It is a little interesting to me that in June, we had a situation where the Reds were idiots for not calling up Elly De La Cruz, and now they're idiots for playing Elly De La Cruz. That's quite a turn, in my opinion. But I'll shut up.
Well, I think personally, I'm not asking them to sit Elly for an extended period of time. But I think when you're looking at a situation where you've got two of your hottest hitters on the team who have to be on the bench, or at least one of them has to be on the bench because you refuse to sit an aging Joey Votto and a young Elly De La Cruz, ultimately for me, especially in games like we talked earlier, if you're managing to win those games, you have to get your best at bats out of your young guys if you can. And so I don't know the answer. I didn't see enough of CES at third in the past. I didn't see enough of Marte at shortstop in the past to know how much that's going to negatively affect your defense. But I do know what it's doing to my offense. And the other point that I wanted to point out was that we saw, what was interesting to me today is that we saw Jake Fraley in a double steal. And I realized that it was a double steal in a different situation, but if he's healthy enough to go out there and swipe second base, and they threw down a second and he would have been safe even with the throw, is he not healthy enough to throw him in right field every once in a while? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how standing on it for an elongated period of time is going to be, all of those things, but putting him out there instead of Nick Martini, I mean, I don't know, because I also don't want to put Will Benson on the bench right now, especially against the right-handed pitching that we have coming up. Obviously, we have to find a place. Friedel's got to be in the lineup. Steer's got to be in the lineup. So we've got a lot of like good pieces that have to be in the lineup. And ultimately, this is why David Bell is in conversation for manager of the year, is he's got to be able to find a way to manage these pieces. And I am not in love with the way he has managed over the last week or two. I don't know if maybe Votto made the decision that he was going to retire after this year and told David Bell a couple weeks ago rather than at the beginning of the season. And now David Bell is managing differently because of that, or if he knows something about Marte or CES. But ever since Marte broke his nose, it certainly feels like he has not gotten the opportunities that he has certainly earned.
Yeah, I don't. Trace, do you want in on this or not? I can't really see you, so, and you're muted. I think you muted yourself. Or you want a second?
Yeah, just got home. We can't wake up the kids.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough roster right now. There's just a lot of pieces that don't really fit all that well together. I don't know. I just say I'd caution people on wanting to bench Elly De La Cruz because of the defense and kind of what that would create. Now, if Matt McClain comes back next week, I think it's an entirely different conversation. I think you can get away with benching Elly a little bit if you really feel that. But Elly's also capable of getting on a hot streak more than anyone else in this lineup. And I don't know, it probably sounds stupid right now, but if it happens next week, no one's going to be complaining about it. So,
yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. I think when I said Elly needs I don't know what it is exactly. If baseball was easy and there was a medicine for everything, everybody would do the same thing and you just fix the problem, right? I don't know what Elly needs exactly. It's just that it's just like sometimes when I hearken back to kind of again when you struggle in baseball, sometimes having a couple days off in a row can kind of reset. You can reset and you can start to get yourself back into a groove. And then there's certain times where it's just something happens in a game where you make a great play, or Elly accidentally runs into a fastball, and then the switch hits, and boom, we have Elly back. we can't sit Ellie for extended periods of time. Anybody that says that right now, I don't think they're really thinking about the long-term solution of what this team actually needs to be successful. Because Ellie, for all intents and purposes, if he gets hot, this team's just a different team. This team, you could argue this team is a team that could actually advance in the postseason if Ellie gets hot. If Ellie's in a position where he continues to play the way that he is, of course you're going to want to find a solution to hit or find a replacement for him. But it just feels like, and I'm with Nick on this, and we're going to get crushed a little bit for it. It's like it feels like we've waited it out for so long that when's that switch gonna happen? Maybe it doesn't happen all year. I could be wrong, but it could be tomorrow. Like it could be tomorrow. He could go 3 for 4 with 2 home runs tomorrow. Next thing you know, we're right back on track and we're feeling great about everything. I know it doesn't look like that, and by God, it doesn't. But at the same time, this team is in a position where you guys nailed it right on its head. Joey Votto's playing. It is what it is. And you know what? He's earned the right to play. I understand both sides of the aisle on that, but he's going to play. So it's a waste of our time to sit here and discuss that. What you do for the rest of the stuff, I just think at the end of it all, I hate to say this, but I think Fraley's the guy that has to probably sit. And that sucks because he's probably the guy that we relied on the most all year long when it came to being productive against right-handed arms. He's just not the same guy he was. And when you're playing in short spurts, you got to go with the hot hand. You don't look over 800 at bats and say, well, this guy's just a little bit better. I'm going off of what guys have done in the last 2 weeks. And with all due respect, the last 7 games, Marte's hitting 500. CES is hitting like 370 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Fraley's hitting $140. So, I don't know. And that's not a Jake Fraley slander piece. I love Jake Fraley, but a spade is a spade, fellas. That's part of it. You got to make hard decisions. David Bell's never been in this spot before. I don't think. He's never been in a spot where he's had to manage a legacy. He's managing a legacy. He's managing rookies that are trying to find their footing. And he's also managing a bullpen that is basically held together by just silly string. So I don't envy David Bell.
The last time I was on this show, we did an exercise. We gave you Marte, CES, Votto, and Fraley. We told the chat to rank those 4 in terms of most that you want to see most in the lineup, all the way down to least. And Nick said it at the time. I mean, Joey Votto, quite frankly, was number 4 on that list. I think Fraley may have slipped to 4 on the list for me since then, just based on the way he's performed. But the 2 pieces that have not changed without a question is that Marte and CES are number 1 and 2 on that list. And so if David Bell is set on Joey Votto playing, then Fraley has to be the odd man out. You can't continue to give up at bats by having Jake Fraley up there. And again, no hate to Jake Fraley because he's giving his all on a broken toe. And quite frankly, in most situations would just be on the IL and not playing.
Right.
But in this year that we are competing in, where we're competing for a playoff spot, he's eating up at bats from young guys who, 1, need the experience, but 2, are better offensively than him right now, even against right-handed pitching.
I don't think it's even necessarily as much eating up at bats. It's that he's also weakening your defense by having to be your DH. And I think the culmination of both of those things, I think he's the odd man out right now. I think you just put your better defense on the field. I think it also allows you to maybe DH Joey Votto. If you're going to play Joey Votto every single day this week, he needs to DH a couple of these days to make him have a chance of being effective all weekend. But one thing I will say about Elly De La Cruz, Pirates have 3 right-handed pitchers going this weekend. They are all 4A pitchers. Ellie tripled off one of them. Ellie homered off one of them. Matt McClain's supposed to be back next week. I think you ride out the Ellie train this weekend. If Ellie has a terrible weekend against 4A pitchers, then I think maybe you can say, all right, we got 5 games left. We move McClain in and we make Ellie become our super sub on the bench that can pinch run, that can do all these cool things for us in that role. But I'm playing Ellie De La Cruz these 3 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates in Great American Ballpark, and I'm seeing if he can get hot. And if he gets hot, this is a totally different baseball team. This team has a chance of actually doing something in the postseason. Without Ellie De La Cruz, it's really hard to see. I mean, it's a crapshoot, but you get what I'm saying. That's kind of where I'm at. Defense matters though, and you saw it with the Twins tonight. Defense matters. You can't be throwing out crappy defensive lineups for marginal at best improvements to your offense.
Yeah, and listen, every good defensive player can go through a slump as well. So I'm not giving up on Ellie being really, really good defensively, but he's struggled lately, and I'll admit that. I mean, like there's really no defense mechanism of saying that Ellie's been good lately in any form or fashion. The one thing I would like for David Bell to do for him, and this sounds a little moronic a little bit to some maybe, but I'd really like to get him on the bench and pinch run, excuse me. Sometimes when you get on the bases in and of itself in any form or fashion and you produce and you help out the team, it might, it can spark some confidence. And the easiest thing that Ellie can do is run. I mean, you can't take that away from him. No matter what happens, Ellie knows how to run. And heaven forbid he pinch runs and he gets thrown out, but I would, if you wanted to get Ellie in there, it would not be like a bad idea to try to pinch run him in like the 3rd or 4th inning one game when you feel like you got a leadoff guy get on and it's one of those marginal outfielders that you think you could get, you can replace them and you shift the defense around. It's not a bad idea is all I'm saying. And we need Ellie. And I know people are hating on Ellie, and I know some people think that we're just Ellie homers. Ellie sucked. Ellie has sucked. He's been terrible. So for those that want to sit here and say that I don't say bad things about Ellie, there you go. You got your clip. But here's the thing. Without Ellie, this team ain't doing shit. So I know it's a kid show, but that's the truth.
I'm on board with that thought. And I think Ellie is best when he has his swag. I talked the other night about
he needs that back.
Comparison to Jazz Chisholm and how when Jazz kind of gets in his little mood, he having lived in Miami and watching Jazz closely, he kind of gets in his mood and then he goes on hot streaks. We saw it. He hit a grand slam the other night and then the next day he does it again. I think pinch running is the easiest way to give Ellie De La Cruz an easy win, right? Continuing to throw him up at bats. It's not an easy win. Deion Sanders said on Game Time this weekend, hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports. So if you need to get Ellie an easy win to try and get that swagger back a little bit, maybe I think what Trace is saying is a great opportunity. You put him in there as a pinch runner, potentially early in the game in what could be a swing moment for you. Maybe it's a tie ball game or a close ball game. You put Ellie in to pinch run. He's able to steal a base. He's able to score on a bloop single that other people wouldn't have scored on. Next thing you know, Ellie has his groove back and he's coming up against a Pittsburgh pitching rotation that he's had his number. So I don't hate it. And quite frankly, I don't hate the idea of kind of giving him an off day from the plate tomorrow to add on to the off day on Thursday, just to kind of give that extra day off. I mean, the kid has been playing nonstop for months with very few off days. And so maybe 2 days in a row would be good for him. And you can use him off the bench as a pinch runner. But he doesn't have to play the field and he doesn't have to get any swings at the plate. And it gives them some swag and gives the team some momentum and hype that they need. Because I don't see any real excitement out of this team right now, even in games where they're winning. Like, it doesn't feel the same as it did when Ellie had his swag. And I'm not saying we need that, But this team is a lot different when Ellie has that swag and it rubs off on the rest of the team. And if he has his boy Matt McLean back next week, maybe that adds to his swag a little bit too.
Yeah, Matt McLean, we miss him a lot. I mean, I know it sounds like of all the guys that we couldn't afford to have injured, Matt McLean is at the top of the list. He just was. You know what he was? He was like a Spencer Steer 2.0 in a little bit of a way. You know, I think he was just a little bit better than Steer defensively, and he was just as productive at the plate as Steer. And you kind of felt like if you had an inning that started off with, whoever, and then it was basically McLean, Steer, Fraley when he was going well, you just felt like you were going to produce. You felt like you were going to probably get yourselves into a position where you were going to score. And I'm going to tell you right now, I really do feel this way. Jonathan India is having some good at-bats, fellas. So I really think Jonathan India is a guy that I'm not saying he's going to get super, super hot, but he's going to be a guy that I think is going to help us out. And even when McLean comes back, it's going to be nice if that's where it's going to get wild, because I got news for you. Jonathan India should DH a couple times, but I just don't know what they're going to do, man. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I don't know. I think I know what they're going to do, but I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Couple thoughts. Number one, Alex Cobb just got pulled from a game. 5 earned runs in 2 innings pitched. He's been completely ass since he went for that no hit. Went for that no hitter that he had no business pitching that deep in the game, and the Giants got what they had coming to them for that. So,
hey, the Twins noticed.
Congrats on taking the no hitter to the 9th inning. You wrecked this guy's season.
The Twins noticed they pulled Maeda tonight after 5 1/3 or 5 innings of 1-hit ball.
Yeah, you don't mess around. Nope. Rocco Baldelli is a new school thing. Well, so is Gabe Kapler, but he got caught up in the emotions. They all do. Even the best of them. But that's I'm getting my digs in on Alex Cobb anytime I can, because I got lit in this chat. Every single person, you have to keep him in for the no hitter. Like, these guys are in a playoff race. What are you doing? They wrecked this guy's season. He was having an all-star caliber season, and that's disgraceful. We need a little bit of liveliness.
We want that, right? We want that.
No, they're playing the Diamondbacks. We don't actually want it tonight.
You sure? I'll be honest with you. I don't mind it a little bit. I kind of want the Giants just to get out of here.
Yeah, but every team ahead of us is gonna be gaining a game. That's mean, it's
are the Cubs winning?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
by a lot.
5-1 or 5-2 last I saw.
Ellie De La Cruz, before we wrap it up on that. I got a haircut today. Guy that new barbershop, because everywhere around town in this area, for some godforsaken reason, you can never get in. So I tried a new one. Comes in, sees my Cincinnati Reds shirt and says, "Oh, how about those Bengals?" I was like, "Dude, I'm a Reds fan." and he goes, "Oh, you got that Ellie De La Cruz player. That's the only he's doing great, isn't he?" Like, so it's funny, the perspective outside of like us who watch this every day, how like a guy in the Cleveland area is like, Ellie De La Cruz is crushing it. And I'm like, yeah, you should see my chat, bro. But there's a lot of parallels to Ellie De La Cruz and Jay Bruce. Right? So Jay Bruce came up, lit the world on fire for a couple weeks. And then after those couple weeks, I got the numbers here. This is after he cooled off after 3 weeks. He hit 229 with a 281 on base percentage, 424 slugging. That's a 79 weighted runs created plus the rest of the season. And then Jay Bruce turned out to be a really solid player. If Ellie De La Cruz puts up Jay Bruce's numbers with his base running and his defensive ability at shortstop, that's a perennial all-star player in MVP discussion. So, but after Jay Bruce came up, teams started pitching him different. Everyone's like, we're not letting that guy beat us. And that's what's happened, I think, with Ellie De La Cruz. And Ellie De La Cruz right now is in a spot where they never thought he would be this year. No one thought he was going to be taking at bats in September 19th with the playoffs on the line. So it's a spot that's really not what you ever expected with Ellie De La Cruz. And I'm still confident as hell on him going forward. I think we're going to laugh about this moment in the near future. All right.
You should feel good. Listen, Ellie's going to be fine. I don't even think they're pitching him different, bro. I just think that he's just lost some confidence and he's just missing some pitches that he didn't miss before, and it's just in his head. He's in his head.
Read the super chat. I'll show the do, folks. There you go.
I tweeted about it the other day. Watching Ellie at the plate, it feels like every single swing he's trying to hit a 8-run home run. Like the guy is swinging out of his shoes. He's fallen over off balance. Like I just think he needs to calm down. I don't know if he's just feeling the pressure of the playoff run or if he's feeling the pressure of carrying the team for the first month that he was on the major league squad or what it is, but it feels like he's trying to hit a home run every single time he's at bat, including when he has 2 strikes on him. So I mean, he had 2 strikeouts swinging tonight, and both of them felt like he was falling over himself because he was so off balance. Like the guy's just got to calm down and let the bat work. He's so talented and so strong. The ball will go even without him having to swing like he's swinging for the fences every single time. Shout out Michael Rolfe.
Michael Rolfe, brother. Like, what a guy this guy is. $20 Super Bomb says he went to the park with my wife and kids tonight, brought a group of 11, waxed my handlebar stash, got the family zone hype before the game, 2 hits while I was there. I bow before the baseball gods. What do you want from me? Michael, I don't need nothing from you. You've brought the juice. You've done it all. I got news for you, though. I host a show tomorrow from 10 to 12, but it's going to get cut short. I hate to break it to the folks because I'm going right back down. I'll be back down there tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm doing the show at the stadium. I'm going to be by myself. I don't have any kids to get home because they have school tomorrow. None of that. And you know what? We're going to get a win tomorrow. And we're going to get a win tomorrow, take 2 or 3 from the Twins. And if I would have told you a week ago that we were going to go, what would that be? I'm trying to think. This is like my brain.
6-3. We've gone 6-3.
But we were going to take 2 or 3 from the Tigers. We were going to take 2 or 3 from the Mets, and then we we're going to take 2 or 3 from the Twins. And I looked you square in your face and I said, "Would you take that?" What would you say? You know it. I know it. We all know it. We say, "Yeah, we'll take that and run." So here we are. Got a chance tomorrow with Hunter Green. We all know what it is. He's our ace right now. And we're going to need him to be an ace again. So Twins aren't world beaters, by the way. I watched them tonight. They are good at hitting balls very softly in spots we're not at, though. I'll tell you that.
One last positive note on the game tonight, and then we can talk about tomorrow's game. I just want to shout out Fernando Cruz. You know, we've talked a lot about the offense. We've talked a lot about Ben Lively, but Fernando Cruz yet again tonight, absolutely dominant as the opener. Tonight, 1 2/3 innings, no hits. Ends up giving up an earned run on a walk to Kepler, but again, as I said earlier, that run never should have scored. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk, 24 pitches. His last 5 appearances, including tonight, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. He came back from the COVID IL. His first game back was rough. I said it on the show that night. He's getting his feet back under him. He was sick. He's coming back from the COVID IL. He'll be fine. And since that moment, absolutely dominant. As an opener now, before tonight, he 4 2/3, 1 hit, 1 run, 11 strikeouts. So now if you add in tonight, he's at 6 1/3 of 1 hit baseball as an opener in 4 opportunities in his career over the last 2 years.
Fernando Cruz is a stud. If only we could have saw this coming.
Really quick question to you, Nick, before we get off the show. I know you're wrapping up, but is Fernando Cruz in a spot where what is he, a free agent after this year? I know you're smiling laughing. I have no idea. How much team control do we have?
It's only his second year in the league, so
yeah, he's It's weird though, because you see him and you're in Buck Farmer, and you're like, how's Buck Farmer a free agent? Yeah, Fernando Cruz made his debut with the Reds, so Reds have him through 2028. But remember, our guy is 33 years old, which is insane. Like, this dude's 33 years old, and he's one of our best relievers, just barely getting his feet wet in Major League Baseball. I mean, seriously, what an awesome story, though. I mean, for a guy to be 33 years old, made his Major League debut at 32. And like, I remember last year when this dude was called up, we thought he was just, a filler dude. Like, I think everyone thought that. They're like, oh, this guy had some nice success in the minors, but he's come up and he's been an absolute stud. I mean, he's like almost I know we got Alexis Diaz, but if we didn't have Alexis Diaz, this is like future closer type material, what you see out of him. But I love him in the opener role. I think they should do this a couple more times. I think he has a high ceiling in that role where he can give you 2 dominant innings. Man, Fernando Cruz has been a huge weapon for this team, and he looks like he's a little bit more fresh than maybe some of these other guys.
Yeah, I mean, he found a pitch. He found an elite pitch. I'm not going to compare it to Mariano Rivera's cutter, but it's like when you find a pitch that that ultimately when you throw it well, it doesn't matter if the hitter knows it's coming or not. That's what he has. The splitter is elite. It is elite. And if he can throw that for strikes, or not even just strikes, but if he can throw that in a manner in which it appears to be a strike, it's game over, dude. It legitimately is game over. So I'm not going to sit here and forecast the fact that not Duarte, by the way, shout out to Duarte. He made things interesting, but he did get out of a jam. But Fernando Cruz, I'm not going to say that he's going to end up being like a superstar, because these guys are literally the most fickle bunch there is, which are the relief pitchers. But if he can continue to throw strikes, Fernando Cruz is going to be a problem. And it's not going to be for the Reds.
I mean, imagine a playoff series where you get or a playoff game in general, where you get 6 innings out of someone like Abbott or Green or whatever, and then you turn it over to a bullpen where the 7th inning is going to be some combination of Ian Jabot, who's been shut down, Sam Maul, who's been shut down, Lucas Sims, Alex Young, who obviously struggled tonight but has been decent in general. And then you hand it over to Fernando Cruz for the 8th, and then Alexis Diaz for the 9th. I mean, you're putting yourself in a position where a 5 inning outing out of your starting pitcher and your opposing team is done, without a doubt. I mean, the bullpen is set up to make a potential playoff run if we can get there and if the offense can step up. But I mean, if Fernando Cruz can keep throwing like this, he's going to be challenging Alexis Diaz for his job next year.
I don't think Alexis is in danger.
No.
I'm not sure what more that guy could have done this year.
No.
But I mean, that 8-9 inning with those two potentially.
Yeah. We'll see. Don't want to get too far, but yeah, he looks great.
Okay, those two 8-9 inning in the playoffs, if we can get there.
Speaking of playoffs, big league transition. Your Chattanooga Lookouts played in the playoffs tonight. Unfortunately, it didn't go well. They lost 3-1. This is a best of 3 series. The first game is in Tennessee. That's the Tennessee Smokies, just outside of Gatlinburg. Beautiful stadium, by the way. The next 2 on Thursday and then Friday, if necessary, are in Chattanooga. The Tennessee Smokies are the Cubs AA affiliate. They had their top prospect on the mound, Cade Horton, absolutely dominant. So the other 2 games will be good for Chattanooga. I think Chase Petty's probably going to get involved. He didn't pitch tonight, but they lost a 3-1. Some good stuff in this, though. Edwin Arroyo 2 for 5 in a playoff game, so that was cool to see. Blake Dunn 1 for 4 with a walk. Reese Hines was 0 for 3, but he absolutely smoked the ball. Got robbed by the Cubs center fielder Alcantara. And then Julian Aguilar started this game. Struggled early, but then bounced back and actually gave the team a chance to win. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. And then Louisville, they also lost to the other Cubs stupid affiliate, 8-4. Brett Kennedy, it was a rough one. 3 2/3, 6 earned runs. But a positive here, Levi Stout, a guy that if we're talking the Reds might, need like some starting depth or something over the last week. 2 1/3 scoreless today. Struck out 2, only walked 1. So that's good to see. Just another guy that gives you an option. Kind of been following him. And then 2 really good offensive performances, but in very different ways. Jose Barrero, 4 for 4 with a double. And Craig, are you ready? Jacob Hurtubise, 0 for 0 tonight with 4 walks. He walked 4 times. How about
How many
that?
stolen bases? Did he swipe some bags?
He didn't steal any bags that I'm aware of. But Jacob Hurtubise, hold on. We gotta look up his on base percentage because it's
I mean,
it's
at AAA,
insane.
his on base percentage has got to be pushing like 600. It's ridiculous.
Nick, is it crazy to think that Jose Barrero has to be at least somewhat of a consideration, or no?
I mean, he's an option. I mean, he's a guy that gives Nick Krall some options this offseason. If the Reds decide they want to move someone else, he's kind of gives you a backup going into the season, which is good to have. I wouldn't be against Jose Barrero being a backup player on the 2024 Cincinnati Reds. I think he can provide some value there. But Jacob Hurtubise, a 479 on base percentage in 323 at bats this season.
What is it? Just a AAA? Does it show the breakdown?
Making me work here.
I know, Nick.
550 in 31 games.
I swear, people probably laughed at me when I said he was pushing 600 on base percentage. But
I perk up for Jacob Hurtubise at bats whenever I got it on. I perk up.
I know.
I'm watching.
I know. People told me it's just a fluke and a flash in the pan, and yet he continues to get on base and get base hits. I don't know.
Fun player. And then tomorrow, we got Hunter Green on the mound. Hunter Green's pitching his best baseball of the season. I feel really good about Hunter Green tomorrow. I feel like Hunter Green is dialed in as we've seen. I mean, his last 3 starts have been absolutely electric. We got a 1.59 ERA, and that's including 1 3-run home run. The last batter he faced at his last start, and it's still only 1.59 over his last 3. 21 strikeouts, just 6 walks in those 3 starts. I feel good about Hunter Green. We'll ask each of you guys your thoughts on Hunter Green. I'll tell you a little bit more about Bailey Ober. He's another talented Twins pitcher. He's been really good the last 2 years, but he's battled injuries a lot. Positive, though, has struggled a little bit of late. 6.27 ERA over his last 7. And he only made 1 start against the Reds. It was in Minnesota back in 2021. 4 1/3, 4 earned runs. So, but Craig, start with you. Where are you feeling about Hunter Green right now and where he's at?
I feel great. I mean, his last outing was dominant. I feel excited about tomorrow. Day game, the ball can be flying though, so we got to keep it on the ground. But a great day for our offense to catch fire. Maybe Ellie can get a home run if they do play him. But also, say what you want about the way David Bell managed tonight, but we have Jabot, Mole, Sims, and Diaz, all who didn't pitch tonight and with a day off on Thursday. So you can be aggressive if Hunter Green does get into trouble at all in the 5th or 6th inning because you have a bullpen ready to go. But his last outing looked like the Hunter Green that we need Hunter Green to be if we want to move forward in the playoffs. His fastball was working. He was aggressive. He looked great last time out.
Trace?
Need 6 innings, 3 runs. 6 innings, 3 runs. Reds win. I really do believe that. The bullpen's ready to go. I think tomorrow this offense is going to score some runs. And I know that's a good outing, but I'm not going to ask for Connor Phillips I'm not going to ask for him to go 7 innings and only give up 1 or 2 runs. Like 6 innings, 3 runs, Reds win. That's how I feel.
That's an 8-3 dub tomorrow.
This is a good offense. The Twins are. Good question in the chat about Green's home road. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been as good. 5.94 ERA at home this season, 3.69 on the road. I do feel like he's just pitching really, really well right now. That I think he'll be able to. I think he'll be able to get it done tomorrow. I feel good. I think I'm gonna be a little bold here. 5 2/3 scoreless. That's what I'm saying. Let's go. All right. Do I have any other slides? I don't even know. Oh yeah, I do have another slide. Of course I have another slide. Well, let's check what's going on. Diamondbacks leading 5-2 over the Giants. Cubs are singing, so I don't know what the score is, but I think they're winning. They always are singing. But tomorrow, Giants Diamondbacks at 3:40. Merrill Kelly on the mound for the D-backs. Marlins, they got to go up against Senga tomorrow, who's been on an absolute roll of late. So say a prayer for Kodai Senga that he can come out, dominate the Marlins like I believe he can. And then Cubs got Justin Steele on the mound. So this is a big one tomorrow for the Reds. But if you get this, you get an off day, you continue to put pressure on these other teams, which is really, I think, the name of the game right now. Final thoughts, Trace? You're muted.
Yeah, final thoughts. Let's not forget we faced the Pirates, the Guardians, and the Cardinals to finish this thing off. All right, that can't be understated. This team has every chance in the world to win, to get into the postseason, even if they weren't to win tomorrow. Even if they were falter tomorrow, season's still not dead. So, gotta find a way to do something special. Though I will say, it feels like this team's gonna have to sweep either the Pirates, the Guardians, even though it's a 2-game set, and or the Cardinals to get in. It feels like one of those series they need to sweep. So we'll see what happens. This is fun. At the end of the day, it's fun. I'm gonna go to the ballpark. I'll be on here tomorrow. Hopefully, it's a Reds win. I need a Reds win when I'm down there. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Obviously, we're focused on the Twins tomorrow, but Pirates that gave us problems this year. You know what? I harken back to the year 2020. Reds struggled with the Pirates. Everyone said, there's no way the Reds can sweep the Pirates in a 4-game series at Great American Ballpark. What'd they do? They swept their asses. 4 straight games. Tyler Stevenson hit a walk-off home run in that series. So you know what? I think it's time to do it again. You know what? You know what the Pirates are owed, gentlemen? A beatdown from your Cincinnati Reds, and I think they're going to give it to them this weekend. So much love, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Like the stream, like the podcast, and go Reds.